Good morning. Or 10 o'clock at night, as the case might be. Depends on where you're watching this, I guess. Welcome to another video here on the X-Pound. I am Jace Phoenix. With me is Geoff.
Hi.
And this is another video in our continuing Year of Starkid in tribute to the 10th anniversary of the Team Starkid theater troupe. They began back in 2009 with a very popular musical. They are thus far about 11 musicals in, live shows, tours, tons of stuff. And we are reviewing a Starkid musical each and every month for the entire duration of 2019. Please go into our backlog if you'd like to see January's review of the most recent Starkid musical, The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, which was released this past Christmas Eve. And check out February's video for our review of Firebringer. We are working our way in reverse chronological order so that we end up at AVPM near the end of the year. But for today, we are here to do one of the two musicals, the only year that two musicals were done simultaneously by Starkid, which is kind of a precedent for them. They have not really done that since then. It was, well, kind of a big deal, if you will. And they did this. Let me see. What was it? Let me see. Okay, so yeah, this was done in the summer of 2014. This came out alongside the show Annie, a parody, which we will be reviewing next month for April. So stay tuned for that. But
am I the only one that wishes we could like push that to May?
Why?
May the 4th.
I see your logic.
I mean, we don't have to, but I just kind of thought of that. I was like, we're 1 month off. Dark on it.
Yeah, it happens. What you gonna do?
Yeah.
But today we are here to talk about the 2014 musical, The Trail to Oregon.
Indeed.
Right there. See my shirt?
Yep, the successful off-Broadway venture.
Yes. Trail to Oregon, of course, originally was put on in LA, where they have Starkid has put on their. Actually, this one might have been in Chicago. Actually, now that I think about it,
I think it was because Annie was in Chicago.
Right,
so
right.
I assume that was in Chicago too.
Yeah, they were at the same theater. Okay. Yeah, they don't have a lot of details on the production for this one, aside from the people involved. They kind of amended the page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before it did Chicago, it does say that. Okay. Also, as noted, it is also the most historically accurate musical portraying the Oregon Trail to date. Because it is the only musical portraying the Oregon Trail to date.
Fair. I have to give credit to Jeff Blim for coming up with this. It's brilliant.
Yes, a little bit of backstory on the show. Both the book and the songs are by Jeff Blim, who has been working on this with help from the Lang brothers, obviously. But Jeff Blim worked on this for over a decade in production. He came up with the idea a very long time before it got made, and it went through a lot of different incarnations, ranging from versions that were based on a classroom where the Oregon Trail was being played and one of the students was sucked back to the real Oregon Trail, to versions where a parody character that was meant to be Jack Bauer from 24 was sending kids back in time to find a cure for a modern-day outbreak of deadly dysentery and went back with them, to all kinds of different versions that were done of this show before reaching the final incarnation that we know today. Interestingly, as part of the Kickstarter for The Guy That Didn't Like Musicals, one of the rewards, which I have, is Jeff Blim's album of deleted songs that were written for this show but didn't make the final version, which is a very good album, and I do hope they release that for sale because other people should hear it.
Fair.
All right, so, like I said, originally in Chicago in 2014, about a year later, it was a year later, right? Is it on this shirt? No, they didn't put the year on the shirt.
No, it was a year later, about a year later.
Yeah. Hang on, it's on this thing.
It was a little less than a year because wasn't it in April?
No.
Of course, swore that was in April. The New York one.
No. Definitely was not in April. It was in the fall.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's not a note about it here either. That's frustrating.
Don't you have the program or something?
Yes, it doesn't have a date on it.
Really?
Yeah.
You fail, Bolden! You fail!
Well, in all fairness, they were probably saving it in case they came back to do it again or something. They could reuse the program, assuming all the same people were involved.
Yeah.
Also, and that's kind of standard for Broadway. If you go to any show, there's no dates on the program because they use it over and over again. This is a rare case where it happens to be a limited engagement, but a lot of times they're not.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that programs that I've gotten from like fandom and shit, like have a date on just to commemorate that you went that specific day. But I could be wrong. I have to go look at it. I have a program at my parents' house.
Program from what now?
Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, nice. Hang on.
Yeah.
Real quick, we have the internet. Okay, it was in May.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in May of 2015 that happened. May 26th to 31st at the Cherry Lane Theater in New York City.
Yeah.
Live, everybody. Anyway, yeah, so they originally did the show during the summer season of 2014 alongside Annie, and then later on were able to book an off-Broadway engagement at the Cherry Lane Theater in New York City to redo the show, which was pretty cool. And I was at that New York City production.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
Along with our good friend Anastasia Laserbeam.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank her greatly because it was the reason. It's I will note that I have the I can get it to not be rolled up. I have cast autographs.
Nice.
Which I thank Anastasia Laserbeam because she got most of them for me because I get shy around celebrities. So yeah, I have everybody except let's talk about the cast a little bit. Of course, Geoff Blim himself, the show creator, plays father. It's worth noting let's backtrack a second. Premise of the show is a family going down the Oregon Trail, much like in the video game.
It's completely based off the video game, 100%.
Oh yeah, we know that. So I'll just say, but there are differences. In this case, the idea is based on the video game, and the show opens with a family, a father, a mother, a son and daughter, and a grandfather who are going down the trail. The adventure starts off as the game does in Independence, Missouri, and goes from there. In the opening number, what's unique about the show is in the opening number, the audience is given the chance to name all the members of the cast.
Yeah. But before we do that, I just would like to say, as a kid that grew up with Trail to Oregon or Oregon Trail, because I did grow up with that in my classrooms and stuff. Fantastic game, hard as spit. Nintendo ain't got nothing on these developers.
Yep.
I would just like to say, on the off chance that Geoff Blim actually watches this stuff, kudos, good sir, on the accuracy of the source material, because you freaking nailed it. Aside from the fact that all your characters survive, which is not realistic in any sense of the imagination, you completely nailed it. So kudos to you. It's brilliant. And I love that it's a choose your own adventure type thing like that, where the audience gets interaction. I also love that if you go and watch the version that's on the Starkid YouTube, when Geoff Blim's like, okay, I need you to name me, and people start throwing names, and then you just see this Cheshire Cat grin creep over his face, and he just kind of turns, he goes, what did you say? And he's like, Jack Bauer? Yes, I am going with that.
Well, the audience member obviously knew that was one of the original incarnations of Oregon, which he had talked about, so that was why that worked out.
Yep.
I will say, I don't think it's quite as good as the version I saw in New York with somebody named Jamie Lynn Beatty's character, Brian Holden.
You told me about that. And you told us about that in the review of that. I wish they had recorded that because I want to see that. That sounds amazing.
It is. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's get some of the basics out of the way and we'll get into detail.
Yeah.
So the premise of Trail to Oregon is a family going down the trail and dealing with the difficulties therein. So the family is named by the audience in the opening song of each show, and they encourage the audience to give them ridiculous, over-the-top names that the cast then has to remember throughout the show at points where they're supposed to reference each other's names. The other choice being made by the audience is upon entering the theater, there is everybody who comes in gets a little red ticket, and there are a series of jars with the names of the 5 family members: father, mother, son, daughter, and grandpa. And the audience actually gets to vote on which family member will die near the end of the musical and get to perform a specific musical number that is the same number each time, but is performed by a different cast member who personalizes it a little bit.
Yes, and we'll talk about that when we get to the end of this thing, because I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So it's really an interesting, interactive, and unique show that they did. And it's got a very minimal cast, because aside from the 5 playing the family members, the only other 2 cast...
Joey.
Yeah. It's effectively the only other cast member is Joey Richter, who plays the villain Henry McDoon, a.k.a. the Bandit King.
Literally everyone else.
That is how he is listed in the program and in all official media.
Aside
McDoon,
from his wife, who was
else.
always played by Jamie Lynn Beatty. Which is interesting because she also plays the daughter that the bandit is trying to kidnap to marry. So literally, she's literally his love interest the entire frickin' play.
Yep. But yeah, so like I said, the premise is the family sets out on their Oregon Trail journey and ends up spoilers, by the way. If you haven't seen this musical, go watch a musical first and then come back and see us.
Yes.
Go check it out. It's on YouTube, of course, much like all Starkid's musicals. Head over to teamstarkid.com if you'd like more information about all their musicals. And, of course, their YouTube channel. Just search Team Starkid. It'll come right up, and you can find the whole musical, which does, at the end, include an option in the YouTube version when you get to the end to choose who dies and which ending you see. So that's pretty cool.
Or you just don't choose it all and just go down do what I do and just go down the freaking playlist and watch them all.
Or that. That works, too. So
it's worth it. Do it.
So the family deals with the assorted challenges of the trail, including primarily dealing with Henry McDoon, also known as the Bandit King.
And his gay lover and sidekick, Cletus.
Cletus Jones. Yes, the infamous Cletus Jones, who there's a joke about them being gay lovers, but the idea is that Henry McDoon wants to kidnap the daughter of the family to make her his new bride and take her down to Mexico to do this. And so a big part of the adventure is as the family's dealing with all kinds of other horrible shit on the trail, including the father being incompetent, the mother being concerned about everybody surviving, the grandpa being half out of his mind, the son just eating everything that he can find, and of course the daughter being kidnapped, are all, trials and tribulations going on down the trail, with songs capturing a lot of the parts of the game that you know and love. I will note a couple of notes. Like I said, there are some slight differences in the New York City version and the version, and not just the character names and everything, from between the YouTube version, the versions that were originally screened via live stream during the original production in Chicago, and then the live version in New York City.
Mm-hmm. Question, Jim.
Yes.
Since you went to the live version, you would know this. Do they ask you guys to come up with a last name, a family name for the family?
Yes, that is part of the show.
Okay, because I didn't know if because on the YouTube version, the family's name is Dick Rats, and I didn't know if that was something they came up with or if that was come up with by the audience.
No, watch the opening song again. The audience comes up with it.
Oh, okay.
It's in the opening song. The family name is brought up.
Fair.
It's one of the things the audience picks out as the family name.
Fair.
So it's in there. But anyway, yes. So I'm trying to remember. You want to take it because I can never remember the formatting you came up with for this.
Yeah, this one might be a little bit unique, but because the story, we know what the story is. It's the friggin' Oregon Trail video game. So you can't go wrong with that because that game is nothing but shenanigans and bullshit.
Well, let's cover this first, get an idea. The cast of the show, like I said, the family members are Geoff Blim playing the father and, of course, running the show because he is the creator. Rachel Soglin, formerly prior to this from Twisted, plays the mother. Jamie Lynn Beatty, of course, from many Starkid shows, is the daughter. Lauren Lopez plays the son. Corey Doris plays the grandpa and Cletus Jones. And Joy Richter plays the villain Henry McDoon and everyone else that they run into along the trail, except for the wife of the general store guy or the other worker at the bar they stop at, which are both played by Jamie Lynn with a head,
Right. And the animals, which are played by the cast members who are not currently in the scene.
Right, exactly. Like I said, Geoff Blim wrote and created it with help from the Lang brothers. Brian Holden did a little writing as well. Drew DeFore helped with some of the music. Clark and Pierce did the music direction with Geoff. That'd be Clark Baxter or Pierce Sievers, a.k.a. Talk Fine.
Nick directed it.
Nick Lang is the director, yep. Katie Spellman choreography. Jen Lang and Taya Smith on set. Matt Lang did the costumes. I guess June Sato was unavailable for this one.
She was probably too busy doing Annie.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Let's see, Sarah Petty on lighting, sound, Mark Swiderski on sound design, Ruby Summer stage managing, and Jess Dumbroff on assistant stage manager. The band is Clark Pierce, Max Everett on banjo, Corey Richardson on guitar, Mason Corby on bass, and Nick Cabot on drums.
Yeah. Let's be honest, the costumes for this, aside from the animals, they're not that hard. Here's a bunch of cowboy hats. Here's a dress. I mean, it ain't that hard. It's not like trying to make someone look like Darth Vader, right?
True. And to be fair, they didn't make only Darth Vader. They said, here's a Halloween costume. Put this on.
Pretty much. But it works. Because it's not supposed to be serious.
We'll cover that next month. We'll get there. But in the meantime, yes, get out to Oregon.
I also love how in the opening number, and again, you can tell me if you did this in all the versions or if it was just a YouTube version, but I love how Geoff Blim actually breaks the fourth wall and makes a joke about him being the one who wrote the play. Yep.
Well, it works because he addresses the fact that I think this was probably a change, given the lyrics. Is that one of the parts of the opening, a part of that song in the lyrics, is they mention that you get to choosing who the family are, but they also mentioned you choosing the family's occupation of the three that are in Oregon: farmer, banker, or what's the other one?
I can't remember.
Farmer,
banker.
I
don't know, hunter? I don't know.
No. Carpenter, I think.
Okay.
Is it Carpenter? I don't remember.
Now, do we know if they had prepared responses based on the professions chosen, or if their responses were ad-libbed? Because I loved Rachel Soglin's response, but I don't know if that was scripted or not.
Well, no, that's the point I was getting to. Is that that's the same in every show. The audience doesn't actually pick the profession. And that's why I think Geoff wrote in the joke about writing the show, because I think maybe when he originally wrote the song, he intended the audience to pick the profession, then realized that was going to be a huge pain in the ass additional thing to deal with in the show that would make it much harder. And it was easier to remove that portion rather than having to change the lyrics in half the songs to accommodate a different profession each time.
This is true.
So that's why I think he wrote in the joke about that. I said earlier that you could pick, but you know what? I wrote the show and I'm saying it's farmer. We're going with it. So it works.
Yeah, because then you get the great reaction from the mother saying, "We're not gonna get very fucking far being farmers."
No, get very far as a bunch of fucking farmers.
Yeah, there you go.
Act like you watched it.
I did watch it. I just don't remember that particular line.
Well, you fail. Anyway, so it is an absolutely wonderful show, and so let's So I don't know, what are the categories we normally talk about?
Well, I was just going to start with the story, but just blaze through that because literally it's Oregon Trail.
Yeah, basically, the story starts off in after the family gets their names. They start off in Independence, Missouri, where they get ripped off by the general store guy, and then head on out down the trail where they encounter a whole bunch of assorted problems, including the wagon breaking down at various times and having problems. Including having to stop and hunt for buffalo for food because the father spent, much like many players in this game, spent all the money on bullets and didn't buy any food.
No, it's because the son ate all the food. Hence why the mother said, "Boy, go out with Grandpa and go get us food since you ate it all."
Right, but there wasn't actual food. That was grass they collected because they had no actual food because the father didn't buy any. The joke is that the father didn't buy any food, and so they stopped and collected a ton of grass, and they were forced to eat. The grass was collected for the purposes of feeding it to the ox because the ox needed to eat grass.
The
And
blind
the ox
ox
was,
with 3 legs.
yeah, the deformed ox that they were sold. For an extra $50, I'll throw in an ox for free. So basically, they end up with all eating grass with the ox because it's the only food they have, and then the son ends up eating all the grass or throwing it out of the wagon or something costs them the grass, and that's why the son has to go with the grandpa and the daughter to go hunting for buffalo.
The son
So
ate all of it.
Yeah, so they end up
Julie,
dealing.
you ate the grass?
No, that's not a line.
Or she was like, you ate all of it? You go, I don't know. Because that's the son's recurring joke. Is he always says, I don't know.
Yeah. So they have to deal with the whole situation of the buffalo and having to hunt for some food. They end up in a situation where, and of course, they end up dealing with that. They end up dealing with the father getting bitten by a snake and having a hallucination about one of the family members dying.
No, the mother got bitten by the snake. The father sucked the venom out and swallowed the venom.
That's it. Thank you.
And Rachel turns around and goes, "You're not supposed to swallow it, you idiot!"
Right. And so he has a hallucination that leads to an interesting number.
Yep. I mean, that's when he gets introduced to the audience, the watchers.
Right. Fun fact about the song, the original version of that song was performed by the government singing about the dysentery outbreak that they were sending people back in time to deal with.
Ah.
We are the government. We are the government. Anyway, that's a great song. Anyway, so they deal with this situation and inevitably deal with Henry McDoon, who encountered them back in Independence, Missouri, and attempted to get a hold of the daughter, but was chased off by the mother. Henry McDoon spots their camp, sets their wagon on fire with a lit cigarette, and kidnaps the daughter to take her down the Great Columbia River to Mexico to marry her and live happily together as far as he's concerned. And the daughter has been having mixed feelings about this because she's been tired of her parents being overbearing and not wanting to be around them. But her story arc is once she's kidnapped, realizes how good she had it, that she actually does want to be with her parents.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, after the daughter gets kidnapped, the family stumbles, ends up traveling in winter, which they didn't mean to do, which is another screw up. They stumble to a bar where the family gets into a fight, and the daughter says, "You're going to get us all killed. I'm taking my father," because the grandpa is her father, and our son, and I'm leaving. And you're a horrible husband and a horrible father. You burned our farm down, which is the reason we're on this journey in the first place. And you're going to get us all killed. You got our daughter kidnapped. Fuck you. Go to hell. I'm out.
Actually, she left the grandfather there. She took the son and left.
Yeah, but she assumed the grandpa was going to follow her, which he did. He just stopped to talk to the dad for a minute. And so then the dad has this crisis of, I need to be a better father. I'd be better for my family, and ends up running into the general store guy and getting a better wagon out of him and supplies at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something else about that scene in a minute.
Crazy
and eventually,
Geoff.
Yeah, anyway, the father is able to get back to get the supplies in a better wagon, is able to reunite with the family, is able to rescue their daughter from Henry McDoon, as their wagon, which they transform into a raft, ends up getting damaged in the Columbia River, and they have to be rescued after conducting a speed run to get there in time. And then eventually the whole family makes it to Oregon, but has to deal with one of the members, as pre-voted by the audience, having dysentery and dying in the song. You kind of split. Nobody ends up dead, but there's different reasons why, depending on the ending. So definitely check those out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they end up in Oregon and happy end.
Indeed. So, we're gonna cover cast and music kind of at the same time because, holy shit, Joey Richter! My God.
Yeah.
I think all the music in this production is fantastic. I don't think there's a bad song in this production.
Yeah, Joey Richter is great, but I'm actually I'm gonna make a point though. Joey Richter set the precedent, but others have taken it beyond. because Joey set that precedent of playing a ton of characters in one musical. But Brian Rosenthal in the Tin Can Brothers show Solvent Squad took it to a whole nother level where he was playing not only everyone else, but played 7 different characters in a scene by himself.
Yes. It's our review of that. That's on the League, right?
That is on the League of Opinionated Gentlemen channel if you'd like to see our review of that production.
Yes. I still think Joey still has record for like the best song ever with Independence, because my God.
Yeah, that's true.
That song is fantastic. And Joey Richter, and I love it. People keep trying to get him to sing it. He's like, I don't remember the lyrics. Like on the what was it? It was on one of the live streams.
Right.
You know, they tried to raise money, and you know, Joey said he was singing Independence. He's like, but I don't know the lyrics. He was like, give me a second, and he actually Googled the lyrics to Independence because he didn't know the lyrics by heart because it had been so long since he sung it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
He was like, this is the hardest song in the Starkid catalog. Cut me a break, people. He's not wrong. If you watch that, it's like, God damn, Joey, how many times did you have to like read that and rehearse it to like fucking memorize that shit? Because godly.
I'm assuming a lot.
Yeah, it's an insane song.
It is.
Well, that's
quite
just
insane.
how good Joey is. But I like that, and I don't know if any other Starkid production has done this, but then again, this production has a smaller cast, so they can do this.
Yep.
I love that every single member of the cast, including Joey, gets a solo number.
Yes, and I think that was very important that they gave everybody a chance to have a solo number in the show, which is cool. So everybody gets a solo number, and then one person gets an extra one depending on who ends up dying.
Yeah, and then there's like group stuff and like the opening number, which is great. Just credit to Geoff Blim for just not writing a bad song here.
Oh yeah, totally. And it's interesting to see some of the evolution where some of the deleted songs on that album are actually alternate versions of songs that did make it into the musical just with different lyrics.
Which makes sense.
So that's pretty cool. I
Because if you're
particularly
changing, go ahead.
I particularly like the original version of the opening number, which I think is pretty cool.
Fair. Yeah, 'cause I figure even if you're changing the story, why would you want to reinvent the wheel and write a completely new song? You have a perfectly good song, and you can just change the lyrics to it.
Right, exactly. And it's not like Starkid doesn't have precedent for that. There's at least 2 or 3 songs in the Harry Potter canon that Darren Criss wrote for other shit and then reworded for those.
Well, yeah, it's they're songs that are actually on his albums. They're his songs.
Yeah.
And he just rewrote the lyrics and shortened himself, like Stutter, which I prefer the Harry Potter sequel version of that. But anyway.
Oh, he has a different version of Stutter. I didn't know that.
Stutter is his song. He wrote the song for himself to sing. He sings it at his like concerts and shit. So I assume it's on his album too.
That makes sense.
But it's like a longer version of it, and don't quite like that one because I think it's too long.
That's fair.
It's like, we need a song. Darren, we need a song. Stutter kind of works. I'll just make it sound like Umbridge is the one singing it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I love all the songs in this. I love what Joey does. Just the level of skill it took and the level of dedication it took from Joey to pull off Independence is astounding.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally.
And just all the characters he does, and the fact that he makes all the characters unique. That's acting, people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
That's hard to do. Play multiple characters, not that hard. Play multiple characters and making them all unique and different. That's hard.
Yeah.
I like all the characters.
Just ask. I'm freaking playing. Do I have that? I don't have it. I don't have it handy right here. Oh, son of a bitch! Oh, it's on the floor. Hang on. Reach. Can't reach. Oh god! Don't fall. Oh. I'm okay. Sorry. For example, I've been playing this recently, and I just got to the second game, and this is probably the case in the original version, but they definitely did revoicing. But like, Tom Kenny is like 80% of all the characters in this.
Tom Kenny is amazing.
Yeah.
I like that they highlight each cast member, and they do it well. Like, I think this production has Geoff Blim's best Starkid work. I haven't seen any of his outside of Starkid work really, but like just his acting and then the song that he sings, the solo song that he sings, and just all of them in general, but his solo one is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
And
totally.
he sounds great. And same with Rachel Soglin, like, you know, because like for instance, if you go and watch Twisted, she's playing a caricature, and so she's putting on a voice, which kind of affects the songs. It still sounds fine, but you know she's putting on a voice, and she's doing it with this one as well. But with the solo number, I don't know. I kind of got the feeling that for that one song, she kind of dropped the voice and just sang the song, and it was beautiful. Like she has a great voice.
Yeah, it wasn't as much of a voice, I don't think, in terms of
Yeah.
more from my perspective. The way it was is I liked her. Obviously, her first Starkid show was Twisted. That's the first thing I saw her in. I
Mhm.
liked her in the show. I liked her comedic timing. She was very good
Yes.
at that, and her singing was good. But she was intentionally trying to sound like a Disney princess. She was trying to
Yeah.
Jasmine it up, and I think that was a minor hindrance in the Twisted show, which again we'll get to in a few months.
Mhm.
But I really think it was when I saw this show, and specifically when I heard her sing "When the World's at Stake," that I heard that,
Yes.
and I was like, okay, you do have a really good voice. That was just the way you were trying to portray in the show. You do have an amazing voice, and she really won me over with that song the first time I heard it.
Yep. She's a fantastic actor too.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they're all great.
oh yeah, they always are.
Yeah, this production is kind of a complete package of gr- songs that are well written, songs that are well performed, and just a showcase of acting and musical talent.
Yeah, totally.
And I also have to give credit to, I have to give a shout out to Talk Fine over there, to the band, and Talk Fine to Clark, especially Clark because he was the keyboardist. Just I don't think I've in any other production that they've been a part of. I don't think I've heard the subtlety that he used in the music here when he was playing it with the piano.
Hmm.
Of course, that's because there was a lot of piano in this, and being a pianist, I kind of picked up on that. I was like, huh, he's playing this a little muted. He's bringing a lot of subtlety and emotion into it, whereas the other one, yeah, he brings emotion into it, but it's, you know, it's your classic Star Kid kind of fare. It's a lot of rock, a lot of, you know, high energy, high impact, and there's a lot of high energy stuff in this, but he settled it up when he needed to. Like for, you know, I can't remember the name of the song. You just mentioned it, the Rachel Soglin song.
When the World's at Stake.
Yeah, when the world's at stake. Like he just had that soft underpinnings of the piano, and I was just like, wow, that's really subtle. I like that. So it was impressive all around this production. The comedy was on point, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Like I said, that was not like Corey Doris showcasing his vocal talent, which
Oh yeah,
up to this point hasn't really ever been showcased because he's just been part of the ensemble.
yeah,
And to hear him do a full on song, it's like, wow, why haven't you sung more before this? Holy crap.
yep. Yeah, the entire cast, it really is great. Very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like I said, the song listing on this musical really is good. Like I said, everybody does get into solo numbers, which is wonderful, and the group numbers come together really well too. I like how the numbers are very varied, from the reserve song like When the World's at Stake to a high energy thing like Speed Run. It's a great
Yeah.
contrast in the different songs, and I think that works
Yes.
well.
Do we know who the choreographer is for this? Because the dance choreography was on point with this one too.
Let me find out. Let me scroll back here to the page, Trail to
And,
Oregon. Let's see.
and the big numbers were kind of elaborate. I mean, like the one that ends Act One where Muldoon lights their thing on fire.
The wagon, yeah.
The wagon. That was a fucking elaborate one. Holy crap.
Yeah, Katie Spellman is the choreographer for this.
Kudos to her, because wow. That was
Yeah.
some great choreography.
Yes, it was quite good. I do like that Act One scene where they kind of bring it all together.
Yep, I like that, and I like the end of Speedrun when they're in the water and they pull out the blue cloth to do the waves. I thought that was
Yeah, they did a great job
effective.
with cloth effects to simulate the elements, and that was very well done.
And then we have the song before the finale song, the one that is sung by multiple people, depending on who you choose.
Yes, indeedy.
It's called When You Gotta Go.
No, it's just You Gotta Go is the official
No.
name.
It's a great song. I love the interpretation of the song from the different people, and I love the stories built into it. My only complaint, and here's what I would identify. So my only complaint is that grandpa and father are exactly the same. There's no derivation between the two.
Hmm.
Here's what I would have done, because this was a complaint I had originally when we originally reviewed this production.
Hmm.
I have a solution to it now.
Okay.
And if you remember, my complaint was I didn't like the fact that they kind of cheapened the father a little bit by having him almost die to the snake poison early, snake venom early,
Yeah.
and then they do this and he still doesn't die. To make it unique, the father should have been the only one that actually died to bring his story full circle.
Hmm.
Because I think that would have made it unique, because since he already had one death scare and he is the only character that had a death scare in the entire thing, I think it would have been appropriate if you choose him to have dysentery, he doesn't come back from it.
See, I agree, but the problem is
You need Jeff Blim for the final number. That's
yeah,
the
that
problem.
turns into a dick move because then you're missing a cast member for the final number, and it's his fucking show. So
Yeah.
I wrote the thing, and that's just how this one goes. Anyway,
Though I think it would have been kind of awesome if they did that and he doesn't sing in the number, but he comes out when it's time for the sax solo, which again blew fuck out of nowhere and fucking fantastic.
yeah,
The Jeff Blim sax solo. I think that would have been awesome. He just comes out for that, and then
that
like
would have been
maybe
cool.
like finishes the second number with them or something.
That would have been cool.
But yeah, that was probably my only complaint of the whole thing is you had the father basically die twice and not die. I'm like, no.
And I can understand the concern about that, and that's why I think it is better when it's not him that gets chosen. I think it's better when it's the other. I think Corey Doris does the best acting for Grandpa when he's the one that dies. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
However, I do like the vocals that Jamie Lynn brings to it when it's the daughter as well, and I do particularly like the after dialogue of the song involving the daughter and the reason she doesn't die. And I think that's probably the best of those scenes.
Yeah, from a story perspective, Jamie Lynn's is my favorite ending just because she gets to turn it up back on her mother. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it worked out very well.
Tonally, though, from a musical standpoint, I have to go with Jeff Blim. I preferred his version because compared to everybody else's, and it might be because he's the one that wrote the song, so he's singing it as it was originally intended.
Right.
But the way he sings it is more melancholic.
Yeah.
He sings it almost as like a goodbye to the family and stuff like that. Whereas everyone else, they start that way, but it becomes more of a comedic song.
Yeah.
Whereas Jeff Blim, for the first time in ever, kind of mutes the comedy and plays it straight almost.
Yeah.
And the way he sings it, which when I first heard it, surprised the hell out of me that he could sing like this, given what I've seen him do. The subtlety in the way he sings this song, to mute it, be able to mute that down and just let the emotion of it come through as opposed to kind of trying to go over the top with it.
Yeah.
And the spectacle of it. It's like, no, this is an emotional moment. I'm just going to let the emotion play through, and the emotion that he's consciously bringing through in the way he sings the song is sadness and disappointment that he's not going to be there for his family. And it's the way he sings it is beautiful. They all sing it great, but I kind of like the emotionality he brings to the song because he doesn't try to amp it up.
Yeah.
In terms of the physical, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, in terms of the physicality, Lauren Lopez by miles.
Well, that's always been Lauren Lopez, and she's always been the most physical person on stage of anyone at Starkid. That's just how it's always been.
And I also love, from a comedic standpoint, hers is the best because everyone else sings, "No, put me down." She just straight up goes, "No, put me down." I'm like, yes, that's perfect.
That is good. Like I said, I think it's from a comedic standpoint. I think Grandpa's is the best just because he goes very, very over the top. Just because Corey Doris' decision is okay. Not only am I going to go very over the top with this, my goal here is to make everyone else start cracking up. You can tell that that's Corridor's goal with this, the way he's, reacting to, and the way he's like, trying to pull the others into the scene and and kind of directing it toward them, that he's trying to get them to break from what's supposed to be the seriousness of their family member dying and start laughing at his overreaction. Mm-hmm. And I think that I was like, I like the version because of that, and also because Corridor's and I have the same vocal range, so I can sing it easier when I'm listening to his version.
Yep. I will say another thing I like that's unique to Geoff Blim's version. Mm-hmm. Is because he's the one that's dying. Grandpa is the one that says, "Damn the Watchers to hell."
Yeah, that's true.
And I like when he does it because it's mentioned earlier in the production by Grandpa that he has seen the Watchers as well before, like back, maybe he died once or something like that, right, in the war, I guess.
Yeah.
And so
I'll banish those lobsters to the sea.
Exactly. But having him do it brings gravitas to it because it's like an old war veteran having PTSD.
Yeah, that's true.
To hell. And I love, and again, subtlety. I love that Corey Doris doesn't play it up. He plays it like the grizzled war veteran. He just goes, "You Watchers, damn you to hell." It's just like, yes. It's like, oh, so good.
Yeah, it's not quite that sinister sounding,
no,
but yes. Yeah, and he does do a good job of that, and I do like that. That's one of the other side stories that Grandpa establishes, is that he fought in the war, which, given the time frame of the Trail to Oregon, would be the Revolutionary War or so. Possibly the War of 1812.
He says the War of 1812.
Okay, so he fought in the War of 1812 against the British, and he mentions the fact that but the running joke is that when he says it's they correct it, like, don't mean lobster backs. He's like, no, he means actual lobsters. And the joke that we see at the end with the final character that's brought in by Joey Richter that isn't the recurring ox in the final song, and the doctor in Oregon, is Cornwallis the lobster, who was the leader of the other side, who took Grandpa's wife down to the sea, and how they actually have a reconciliation, which is interesting because the entire musical, everybody's been treating Grandpa like he's crazy with all these stories and shit about lobsters. And then it all turns out to be true. And that's just kind of a great turnaround that you don't expect.
And I love that there really is no reconciliation, because at the end of the whole thing, Grandpa's like, "This changes nothing between us, Cornwallis." And Cornwallis just goes, "I know," and leaves.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it would have been interesting if they had incorporated the dead wife into Grandpa's ending to make it a little more unique from the father's ending.
That would have been interesting.
To say that, it was his wife that met him at the gate and said, "Your time is not up yet."
Yeah. That would have been an interesting way to go about it. But I did like the... But the thing is that... yeah, that would have worked. That would have been interesting if they did it that way.
I also love Geoff Blim's comedy in, I think it was Jamie Lynn's version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know I'm assuming this was like an ad lib by him just because of the positioning, because he happened to be laying down like right behind her or right next to her.
Uh-huh.
Where he's constantly getting up, and because it's dysentery with the constant farting, he gets up, he's like, "Nope," it just falls back down.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. I also love they went old school with the fart. They could have easily like piped something in through like the
sound
through the speaker or something, but it's like Joey's like, "Nope, I'm just gonna go fart into my arm." It's like such an old school but effective way to do it.
Doing the elbow fart. It was pretty funny. Now,
I also love that he appeared to extend that a little bit for Lauren.
He did.
"Honey, I'm gonna make you work for it."
that was his little joke. It was great.
And then, of course, the final number, "Naked in a Lake," which is awesome.
Also, from a recurring joke throughout the musical, where the son constantly wants everybody to go skinny dipping, and then at the end they finally do.
Yep. Yeah, I love that a lot of the endings, or at least the endings with the kids, bring back recurring jokes. Like with the daughter, of the recurring joke of the mother, always faking her own death. And with the son, the recurring joke of I like to see things bounce.
Yeah.
That's why I toss my shoe off the back of the thing.
Yeah.
They're like, sister, can you toss my other shoe before I dive through? Oh yeah, that bounced real good.
Yeah.
I like the continuity in this too, which I think is better than a lot of Starkid's productions, where Geoff Blim, well, I guess I think the Lang brothers helped him write it too, but I love that the writers, Geoff Blim and them, are always cognizant of the continuity.
Yeah.
And bring back recurring things where it makes sense.
Yeah, very much so. I think it was more along the lines of Geoff Blim had the show written and Nick Lang and the Lang brothers helped him convert it to the version that we know today.
Right, like Starkidize it.
Right, exactly.
Make it like a musical, yeah.
Yeah, and it worked very, very well.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite ones. It's a good production.
Yes. Now.
Yeah.
Fun inside references.
Yeah.
Okay. Couple of things to note. Inside notes. Number one, the fun fact about this is you see all those different endings that are on the YouTube version.
Yeah.
Those were not all filmed on the same night. So what they actually did is during different productions of the show because they did it for like several weeks, like it was a month or so, month and a half during the course of that summer in Chicago. And so in the different versions, what they would do is they finish the musical and then they would go back and do a bonus ending to film one of the extra endings for the YouTube version. And one thing they mentioned is constant frustration. When they went back to that part, they constantly had to remember their names from that version. So they always had, it was kind of an interesting joke about that. They kept having to go back that, and some of the live audiences got a double ending because of the way they did that.
I'm assuming they didn't do the full ending, just that one song, because it looks like everything post You Gotta Go. It seems like they just used the version of it from the one they recorded for the full YouTube version, because it's literally like movement for movement, beat for beat. Oh, they're all exactly the same.
Yeah, I don't know if they redid the whole thing or not, because looking at if you watch the endings, there's no cut or anything. So I imagine they might have just replaced the ending from the version that they were, performing with that ending rather than doing it again. I'm not sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
But there was something about.
Because like I said, if you look at it, it's beat for beat exactly the same. And you know how I know this?
What?
Because if you watch the part of Naked in a Lake when they go out to the audience, watch the camera and watch them coming out, because it's always the same camera position. So it's always the same camera. And Jamie Lynn Beatty is the one that comes running down the steps toward that camera. And if you watch every ending on the YouTube channel, she does the exact same motion. And I think it was improvised on that night, because she turns to the camera and does a little thing at the camera, and noticing the camera is there. Okay. So that's why I think it's it's basically they just took that footage and just put it in there.
Maybe.
Because I can't imagine Jamie Lynn Beatty doing that, like that improvised motion every night, and I can't imagine them being able to set up that particular camera in the same spot, exact same spot every night.
Okay, then you may be right on that. I don't know. I'm not sure. Now, the New York version did have some differences. And we did cover this in our last review, but I'll talk about it a little bit again. Sure. There were some minor differences to the show. From a combination of the fact that they were in a different locale, to the stage being slightly smaller, not having as much room to move around, things like that.
Right.
Well, that didn't really affect much, to be honest. But the version that I saw live was really good. One thing I did enjoy was they amended that. Oh, I mean, not that you hear it in the YouTube version anyway, but they always do that opening announcement for Starkid shows, or for any shows for that matter.
You mean like the one that was on the reunion DVD?
Was it?
We asked that you do not record any shows here, and I think he tailored it for Mish but like, yeah, we asked that you do not record any other show, or use take any pictures, use any photography, or you will incur the entire student debt of Team Starkid, which is about $4 million. Enjoy the show.
Yeah. They like to do that. Well, the one they did when they did this live, and I'll mind you, we saw the show on a Friday morning, if I recall correctly. They were in New York for about 2-week time frame, and a little under. And I remember, I think it was on the Friday we saw the Friday matinee afternoon show, and
Okay.
and I remember the opening announcement because we were sitting there, and Joey did the opening announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes on the speaker, and I don't remember exactly what he says except for one part. But he comes and talks about, this is welcome to Trail to Oregon at the Cherry Lane Theater. Da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
We ask that you refrain from any flash photography, and he probably made a joke about the flash photography like they normally do. But the part I remember is that the part he gets the end is that the part that he got at the very end that got a laugh from everybody in the theater, which I'm assuming they did intentionally, was he gets to the end part and he goes, we also ask that you refrain from any video recording. We wouldn't want this to end up on the internet. It's like, okay, that's fair. For anyone that didn't get that joke at home, by the way, the entire show was already on their YouTube channel at that point, so it would have been pointless.
I wish someone had recorded at least the Brian Holden part because I want to see that part.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. One other unique thing, and this I did not see, but I'm going to mention it. This was not in my version, but I heard about this. And I do not know the context of how they made this work in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I read online from some postings, in the very last show in New York City, which was going to be the last time the show was ever performed by them, when they got to the last song, sorry, not the last song, when they got to You Gotta Go, I don't know how they story worked it in, but they did something where they somehow worked it in, and they had Joey sing the song.
Ha!
And I don't know exactly how they worked that in plot-wise, but somehow they did it for that one show.
So who did the farting for it?
I don't know. But they worked in a thing where Joey got to do the song for that one time.
I wish they would have put that online. Come on.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have recording equipment set up there. So
did he sing it as the Ox?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Ah.
Like I said, that wasn't in my version. That was in the very last version on the last day they were there, and I only heard about this in internet postings, so I don't know.
Fair.
He might have. That would have been funny. I don't know. But I do know that was a thing that happened from what I heard, so that's pretty cool. Other things to mention that I can talk about that I did see at my show. They did amend the lyrics to the opening song, Gone to Oregon, for the purposes of the new venue. Because you may recall during the course of that song, there is a line about we're Broadway bound in Oregon because there's no Broadway in Chicago. So because there was a location reference, I don't remember the exact lyrics that were changed, but they amended like a few lines of the song in there and actually worked in a reference to at the Cherry Lane Theater, and they actually worked in the name of the theater in New York and everything.
Nice.
So it was well done to customize that portion of the show for that. Another change that went through in the New York City version was the amendments to the song Pays to Be an Animal.
Okay.
Corey Doris' song. Because I think, and I when he sang this part, I went, that's a good point. Somebody must have pointed that out to them after the show. That's hilarious.
Okay.
Because, one of the lines in that song that Grandpa sings during the course of that song, is when the line where he slows down. He goes, "There are stories told of men's fall from grace. He rapes the land just so he can eat. But stories suck, so fuck him right in the face. And even if you put on weight," and it goes from there. And he does that part. Somebody must have pointed out to them after the show, or maybe they self-realized, I don't know, that line didn't make any sense.
Okay.
Specifically, stories suck, so fuck him right in the face. Because Grandpa says this line in this song, despite before and after spending the whole musical telling stories about him in the war with Cornwallis. And I think somebody pointed this out to them because he actually amends that line. And in the New York City version, he amended that line to something to the general effect of, Like, but stories suck, so fuck 'em right in the face. Except for the story about that lobster, or something like that. He worked in some extra words to exclude his own story so that it didn't look like he was being a fucking hypocrite.
Touche.
Like, okay, that's fair. Because when he sang that, I'm like, so, like, why did he? Oh, I get it now. That's a good point. So that was pretty funny. But I think by far the best thing that happened was the 5 minutes or so of Jeff Blim and Joey Richter improv that broke out.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because they threw back to an earlier thing when they did this. So you know how during in the main version, near the end of the song, "It's the Grind," Jeff Blim intentionally cracks his voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he gets to the very end of the song, and he's yeah. And he goes up into the really high falsetto, and he's like, and they like, depending on the version, he'll make a joke about his appendix just burst or something, or just about being over the top when he goes that really high intentional falsetto voice crack.
Mm-hmm.
Well, later on in the musical, when Jeff and Joy were the only two on stage, and they were singing the reprise of "When the World's at Stake" that they sing at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
When the father is recounting how he realizes he's a horrible fuck up and he's going to fix things.
Yes, and he's got a gun to Joey's head.
Right, he's going to his chest, but yeah, he's pointing a cardboard shotgun at him.
They didn't have an actual gun at the New York one?
Oh, sorry, no, it's the plastic shotgun. I mean,
okay, I was about to say they had an actual toy gun.
Yeah, the little plastic shotgun, and it's funny because then they went to because he did the opening part, and then there's the part at the end of that reprise where Joey takes over and sings the last verse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly what happened there, but Joey sang the verse, and he gets to the end of his fake verse where he intentionally screams a note really off key. It's intentional as part of the show, and he did this, and it's just like, when the world's at stake and there are lives to save, and yes, I'm one big fake, but please cut me a break, cause and he intentionally sings that note really off key.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was the note itself, but somewhere just before that, during that song, Joey's voice actually cracked during the song. And so the audience kind of had a laugh reaction about that. And, and it might have been when he hit that last note that it cracked that he didn't quite do it. And so credit to these guys is they proceeded to improv 5 minutes of dialogue between them about the voice crack. Because immediately Jeff, knowing his own show, immediately jumps in. He's like, Jeff jumps in. He's like, "You're right. Like, it's okay. That happened to me earlier in the show." Because of the intentional voice crack during the other song. So he makes a joke about that, and then Joey Richter starts launching, and he's like, "Yeah, my voice has been all stretched. That stupid waiter, which of course is played by him. He was here. I don't know where the fuck he went. He was here 5 minutes ago. I ordered 3 waters, 1 with lemon." and they go back and forth in this 5 minutes worth of dialogue about the voice crack and the shitty service at the bar. And then finally, after a few minutes of going back and forth, then Jeff Blim makes back around with the gun, like, "All right, that's enough," and he points the gun at him again, and they go back into the scene.
Nice.
But it was hilarious that they ended up improving all that dialogue, which was great. So that was really funny. And of course, the key to the whole show, which I did tell him when I met him after the show, was the impromptu Brian Holden cameo.
Because he was there for some reason.
Well, yeah, because he's like the head of Starkid.
Oh.
I mean, the Lang brothers do all the writing. Officially speaking, the 4 Starkid founders are Holden, the Lang brothers, and Darren. They're the 4 founders.
Right.
And so generally speaking, the Lang brothers do a lot of the writing and the stuff, and Nick does some of the management. Brian is sort of the face of Starkid. He's normally the guy that does announcements and is kind of running things. So I think he went with them because he was probably the one coordinating and running the show, and so he needed to be there to. And Nick Lang was there too, mind you. But
yeah, he's the director.
Yeah, because he was there. I saw him. He came outside of the stage door and was hanging out there with people after the show. But So because, as we mentioned earlier, in the opening of the show when they were naming the characters, somebody screamed out and named Jamie Lynn's character Brian Holden. And there was a huge laugh when somebody said it. And then, there's almost like a hesitation, like they were debating, and then Jamie Lynn is finally is like, all right, I'll take it. Which is the scripted response to whatever name she gets. But in this case, it was like the delay, like, are we really going to do this? And they're like, yeah, all right, fuck it, let's do it. And I almost have to kind of wonder, given the stage setup, I almost have to wonder if like Brian was off stage right, which is where the backstage area was, and if he kind of like did a reaction of like, no, do it. I don't know. But at any rate, so they do this. So the joke is that the name is Brian Holden, and they use the joke. And in the show, the intermission comes right after McDoon kidnaps the daughter. The last song there is "Wagon Is on Fire," which leads into some minor reprises of the other songs to the Act 1 finale. And the opening of Act 2 is Jamie Lynn Beatty as the daughter singing the song "Lost Without You" about missing her parents and realizing how wrong she was about being annoyed by being with them and how her mother being overbearing.
I love that song.
It's a good song. And the scene opens with McDoon dragging the daughter out to his wagon, which is center stage, putting her on the wagon, and then going around to get in the front with Cletus to drive the wagon, and then she sings the song solo from the back of the wagon. And so they and so they did the shit. And so when they came back from the intermission, they must have decided it during intermission, if not before. When they came back from intermission, everybody was ready, and they were sitting there. They started the thing up. The scene opens, and Joey comes out as McDoon, and normally he's dragging Jamie Lynn by the arm as part of the shtick, but he wasn't this time. He wasn't. He kind of came out and stopped, like his arm partially off stage, and kind of stopped, and he paused. He paused for a second, being that he's supposed to use the character name there, he paused it in line. He's like, all right, come on, Brian Holden. And then he pulls it out, and it's actually Brian Holden and not Jamie Lynn. And so then Joey Richter, staying in character, acts really confused for a minute.
I assume the crowd like exploded when he.
Oh yeah, it was a huge explosion. And so McDoon acts confused for a second, and then Brian, choosing to play up this moment, and he's like, and because McDoon's kind of like, what's going on? He's like, no, you're not. He's like, no, come on. And Brian was just on Maggie. He's like, come on, I'm the child bride. Let's do this. Just hilarious. And McDoon and Joy's like, no, and he grabs Brian and like shoves him off the stage, and then pulls Jamie Lynn out and continues with the show. So it was hilarious. They got the best reaction of anything in the show, the version I saw anyway from the New York one.
Am I the only one who would have loved to see Brian try to actually sing that song?
That would have been interesting.
Because I think he could have done it.
Probably. Wouldn't surprise me. He does have a fairly high range. Excuse me.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good range.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish someone had recorded just that bit, because that's what I want to see.
Yeah. That would have been good. But again, they did ask that nobody recorded. People were respectful of Starkid's wishes because they're cool. So
apparently not everyone, because some people actually record. Well, I'm assuming either recorded or ripped it off the DVD of the reunion, because there's a couple of songs out there.
Well, yeah, people rip the DVDs. Some people are assholes. They did the same thing with the DVDs for the 2 tours. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's not as assholic, because I'm pretty sure the DVD version is the version that's on their YouTube channel anyway. And it's those, I think, came out like after they put it out. I'm not sure.
The tours aren't on the YouTube channel.
You sure?
Positive.
Yeah.
The tours, there are ads for the tours on the YouTube channel from when they happened, but the tour shows themselves were never put on YouTube. They are exclusively on the DVDs.
Fair.
Which is why that's kind of a dick move. Like I said, there are versions that have been posted by people, but the full versions have never been posted by Starkid officially. They're only on the DVDs.
Fair.
Particularly the Space Tour one, because the Space Tour DVD is actually not just a straight show through. It's actually the show interspliced with the featurette as one long production.
Ah.
So there's actually, okay, here's the next song and section of the tour show, and then here's some background stuff going on, and then here's another section of the show, and they go back and forth. So you're almost living through the entire tour adventure with them, both seeing the songs in the show, while at the same time experiencing all the stops and things on the tour along the way, and all the problems and things that went wrong that they learned from on that tour.
Mm-hmm.
Things like you cannot shit on all tour buses.
Yep.
You have to be very careful. You will not be able to smuggle merchandise into Canada. You have to make sure to properly check and get passes for your merchandise, or you will not be allowed to bring your merchandise into Canada, and you will have to smuggle it.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things they learned on that tour that helped them later on when they did the Apocalypse tour in 2012. But overall, very good. Like I said, those DVDs, by the way, for those 2 tours, if you're interested, are currently on sale on the Starkid store. Go to teamstarkid.com, click store at the top. It'll reroute you to Ann Arbor Tees. And click the sale button on the column on the left of headings. And you'll see that things on sale, including those 2 tour DVDs, which are about $5 off right now. They're $19.99 each. Normally $24.99. So pick one of those up if you're interested, among other things.
I might pick up the albums because those are also on sale for like $3.
They are, yeah. There's the Space Tour album and the Starship album are on sale for $3 right now, $2.99. I don't know for how long, but $3. Grab them while you can.
Yeah.
Go for it. I own the CD of the Space Tour. I don't need that one. And quite frankly, as much as I like Starship, I think the tours have enough versions of those songs that I don't need the extra album.
Yeah.
Because there's only 1 or 2 songs on that show that aren't performed in the tours and live shows. So.
Mm-hmm. And you have the reunion DVD too, which has Beauty. So
it does. Yep.
And that's Beauty with 100% more Brian Holden.
Hmm?
Well, because Brian Holden's character was a human character in that, so he wasn't in Beauty. But in the reunion version, he was, because he played the son of Brant's character that they made up for.
Oh yeah, he was right. He was Roach Jr.
Yeah, he was Roach Jr. So he actually got to sing that song with everybody else on the reunion tour, or not the tour, but the reunion thing.
That's right. I remember that now.
Yep, that's why I said Beauty. Now 100% more Brian Holden. Yes. Is there anything else you want to bring up about the New York version of the Trail to Oregon?
No, but man, those are some of the main changes that went through. I will note in the version I saw, Grandpa got to do the You Gotta Go song near the end. I will note at the time that when Stacey and I went, we actually voted for the daughter. I voted for the daughter, and Stacey just followed my lead because she wasn't really sure, because she hadn't seen the show up to this point. That was her first time seeing the show. And so I went with the daughter, and she just followed my lead, only because at that point I liked it because I liked Jamie Lynn's After Effect. But in retrospect, because that was the only ending I had seen, because I had seen them live stream it, and in the YouTube one, I had watched it but hadn't really focused on the endings that much. But then seeing Corey perform it live, I'm like, okay, the Grandpa one is really good, and that has sort of become my favorite one from a singing perspective.
Fair.
All right.
I give this a big 2 thumbs up. Go check this one out.
Indeed. And definitely go check it out. Yes, it's on YouTube. Check out Team Starkid's YouTube channel. Like I said, merch is available. You can get posters from this thing. These T-shirts are still available, I think, if you want to get one of those. Like I said, it's all on their store, teamstarkid.com. Click store, check the stuff out. There's also information about all their other musicals on there, upcoming events, things like that. Starkid, thank you for bringing this to New York, and I hope you're able to bring future shows to New York for us to see. I know now that you're in LA, it's a much farther way to do that, but I think it's still worth it. And thank you, everyone in the cast, for the autographs, by the way. I really do appreciate that. Like I said, I have everybody but Rachel Soglin. She was the first one to leave, and I didn't catch her before she left. But,
Starkid, now that you're in LA, please come up the coast. I'd love to see you live. I'm in Seattle. Yeah. And I didn't become a fan of yours until after the space tour, so I was unable to see you in Portland because I didn't know about it.
Well, I'm the same thing. I was a fan of them, but I didn't know they did tours. I found out about it way after the fact, which is unfortunate. I should have paid more attention. Let's see here. So,
Jim, you're the one that actually introduced me to Starkid.
I am?
Yep. You were like, hey, you're a Harry Potter fan, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, because you and I are both Harry Potter fans. We like to talk about Harry Potter. You're like, watch this.
Fair enough. I don't remember that.
You sent me a Harry Potter musical. I was like, holy shit.
Oh yeah. So check us out. You can see we got Corey Doris right there.
Yep.
Let's see what is this one. That's Brolden in the gold pen right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's Lauren right below him. We have let's see. That's Joey right there. Joey Richter. Some of these little. That's Jamie Lynn Beatty in the red there. And that would mean that this one down here at the bottom would be Geoff Blim. So there you go.
Nice.
So yeah, overall, really good. And like I said, and they were so nice. Like I said, they came out after the show. The theater was very small. There was almost no room inside it. So everybody kind of came out, and everybody was standing on the street outside because it's New York City, but it's a side street that it wasn't really heavily used. So there weren't a lot of cars. So everybody just kind of stood in the street, and the Starkids came out and kind of spread out. People got autographs and stuff. It was really good. I did feel a little bad for them because as we were getting autographs, it was obvious because the theater is there, but then there's like a bunch of not houses, but like apartment buildings nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And they clearly didn't seem happy that all these fucking people were just hanging out outside their houses.
Oh, that's what you get for living pretty much next door to a theater. Deal with it.
Yeah, because when we were autographing things, when we got to Corey Doris, who was on the far side of the theater from them, Corey Doris was like scribbling through autographs, trying to get them done quickly, and kind of looking up at like that there were people looking at the windows, kind of looking up. He's like, yeah, we want to try to get this done quickly. They don't like that we have fans.
He actually said that.
He said that. And so they were trying to get through it all, so they weren't out there in the street all day, but it was well done.
You would think living in New York, they'd be used to that.
Yeah.
Like they literally live next to or above a theater in New York. What do they expect?
True, but like I said, especially given that Cherry Lane is normally known for like independent productions that are not super big, normally it's not the kind of thing a lot of people are going to wait at stage door for, especially not the entire audience.
Yeah, well, hey, it's independent and big.
A couple hundred people, yeah. Well, Starkid has a fan base, unlike most people that perform at Cherry Lane, who are sometimes more independent and lesser known productions. So it was one of those things that was a little bit unprecedented. Which is, but I like I said, that's why I was glad when they do some other things that they're able to get something better venues. Like for example, and this kind of worked out when I went out again and I saw Tin Can Brothers put on their show Solve It Squad. They the venue that they had was very good because it was a much smaller theater, but because of that, the space that was outside it. To get to this theater was on an upper floor of a building, and so you had to go in, get on the elevator, and then go up a few floors, and then you came out and went around the corner from the elevator, and there was like a reception desk on the right, and then the theater entrance was on the left, and there was like a little waiting area.
Okay.
And so, because of the number of people that were in the show and in the theater, worked out well that there was plenty of room for everybody to kind of just stand right there, talk to the cast. It wasn't a massive crowd like it was at the Starkid show.
Mm-hmm.
And while they certainly could have fit more people in the theater, unfortunately, it wasn't sold out, and I felt bad for Tin Can Brothers for that. But it did give a nice opportunity for some more personal interaction with the cast and crew, really getting to say hi to people, and I thought that was really cool. Whereas it was fairly obvious with the after this, because they had 150 some odd people, that they were trying to get the autographs done as quickly as possible because they were obviously exhausted. In particular, I felt bad for Lauren, who just seemed like, I don't know if she was just really tired or just something like wasn't feeling well. I'm not sure, but she was just really trying to scribble through autographs and really just seemed to be trying to get them done. She wasn't really, at least by that point, which was kind of as it was clearing out, she seemed to be just kind of done. And I'm like, I fully respect that after putting on that level of show and everything.
Yeah.
And I know they obviously, because it was the matinee show, they probably wanted to get done, walk back up to wherever they were staying, and have lunch and relax for a while before they had to come back and do the show again at 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I can completely understand them being kind of in a hurry and not wanting to be out there forever and having trying to get through all these people. So I completely get that. But I will say that a great experience meeting everybody, especially Joey and Lauren after Tin Can Brothers. They're both wonderful people. And I encourage anybody who goes to a Starkid or Take Care Brothers show to stick around and meet them afterward because they are awesome. Same thing with anybody from Starkid or Tin Can. They're just great, great people. So there you go. So that was the Trail to Oregon. Like I said, it's on YouTube. Go check it out. The soundtrack and DVDs and merch are available on Starkid's store and on their website. You can check all that out. The soundtrack is on Amazon and iTunes. It's a great, worthwhile show, especially if you're a fan of the old Oregon Trail video game, because that's what it's a tribute to, straight up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Final thoughts, Geoff. Do we score these? I can't remember if we score these.
I don't remember. I'll just say, as a fan of Starkid and a fan of Oregon Trail, I loved this production. It was a lot of fun from top to bottom. The music was great. The acting was great. This was an uncommon style of production for Starkid in that, and then part of it might have been because Blim was the one that wrote it. Where I've said before, a lot of the Lang Brothers productions, they have a lot of heart in it, and they like to tug at your heartstrings and stuff, and there's always a message in that in the show. This one kind of didn't. Yes, it had some emotional moments, but it felt more organic, if that makes sense. You know, with the trials and tribulations of the family, the almost death of the father, and stuff like that. And it got sended up when it needed to, and then they kind of went subtle when it needed to. It was a good balance, and I kind of like that. That was just basically it's what the Oregon Trail game was. It's an adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an adventure where you don't have a say in what happens because your ass is gonna die to dysentery.
Yep.
So they got that. They hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yep.
So I love this. It's great. And if you want to see, some good solid solo performances by, quite honestly, a lot of people who don't normally get the straight up solo performance, this is the one you want to go to.
Definitely.
You want to watch, And if you want to see them, quite honestly, aside from Joey Richter, singing the songs almost straight up, not doing a voice and like actually using their own voice, I mean, that's why the music is, great, because they're not trying to do it in a voice. They're not trying to, make it comedic. They are just singing the songs, and it's beautiful. Aside from Joey, who is Joey Richter, he always does everything in character, and it's glorious.
Pretty much. All right. Well, this has been a look at the Trail to Oregon.
Hey, how about your final thoughts?
Oh, I kind of summarized my final thoughts. It's an amazing show. If you're a fan of the video game, you're gonna love it. If you're not, there might be a few references that go by you, but you're still gonna enjoy the show. Great cast in it. Jeff Lim did a great job of writing it, and especially given that there's only 6 cast members, they do an amazing job, and it's definitely worth watching. The music is wonderful. Like I said, you mentioned great solo performances. Some of the effects they do with minimum budget are very good.
Yep.
So just overall, a really enjoyable show.
And great costumes.
Yeah, the costumes are well done.
And I love they bothered to give Clark a costume.
They did. Wait, what?
Yeah, if you notice, there's actually at least one of the musical numbers where you can, because of where the camera's positioned, you can actually see Clark off to the left.
Uh-huh.
And he's in a cowboy outfit with a cowboy hat.
Nice.
So they actually bothered to give Clark a costume for some reason. I don't know why, but there he was.
Oh, speaking of in-jokes, by the way, that reminds me of one more from the New York show. The setup for the New York show was as follows. The Cherry Lane Theater is a very small theater. Even though there's actually 2 theaters that they were in the bigger of the 2. It's still pretty, which they got upgraded to because they originally in the small one, they sold so many tickets, they moved them to the big theaters.
Fair.
But in this theater, basically, you come in from the back. There's the seats on the right and left and a small aisle in the middle. Then the stage is right in front of you, and it's not super wide. And then if part way down the aisle on the right, there's a door you go through to the right, which leads to an area where there's a merch stand and whatever, and so like the lobby area. And when you with the stage, there was the stage, and they had the things hanging down, and the band was actually set up in the back behind the stage, behind one of those like drop down shadow walls.
Okay.
And they had the band set up there, and there was actually a great moment where during the scene where the scene right before the snake bite.
Okay.
Where the joke is that Jeff Blim's character is trying to get his wife, who is angry with him, to not be angry anymore and to sleep with him.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that scene.
Yeah.
Well, there's the joke where the in the musical, some slightly romantic and kind of something's going to go on, music kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the version in the version I saw in New York, when they got to that point of the scene and they were about to start doing this, rather than just you're gonna start doing it, the music's gonna kick in. Jeff Blim actually turns around and goes, "Hey guys, can I get some mood music here? We all know you're back there. It's not a big secret." So that was pretty funny.
Nice. Breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
That's why I love Starkid. They're masters at improv.
Yeah. But yeah, great show. Check it out. And we will see you next month when we will be talking. Right now, tentatively, we may swap out for the purposes of lining months, but I'll let you know. But tentatively, right now, April's musical will be Annie, a Parody, the musical that was performed in 2014 at the same time as Oregon on opposing nights during the same run, with a different Starkid cast, which is a Star Wars parody focused on Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker. So, and it's a unique Starkid musical because the cast does not actually sing. All the singing is done by Talk Fine and the band off stage. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more next month. As of right now, if there's any changes to that, we'll let you know. But right now, that is our tentative plan. Also, for those fans of our regular content, we will be having our regular weekly wrestling video. We're running a little late on that. That'll be coming up this week. One night this coming week. Again, stay tuned. We'll let you know. I mean, we'll get caught up on that in time to be ready for WrestleMania in just 2 weeks' time. Not even that, 1 week time at this point.
Yeah, it's next weekend.
Next Sunday, we'll be ready for WrestleMania. We'll review that, get the season over with, and we will kick off our new season with a draft to integrate Risa Soul Risa into the show, who, by the way, is watching this. Hi, Risa.
No, she's a Starkid fan, huh?
She's seen a couple of the Starkid musicals. I showed her a couple of them.
Fair.
This one she hasn't seen, but at one point we went on a road trip with Cam and Melissa, and this is one of the I played Starkid music on part of the way, and this is one of the soundtracks I played.
Risa, you need to watch this one.
Listen to the man; he's right. All right, we'll see you next time, folks. He's Geoff. I'm James Phoenix. Peace.